Uh, I welcome Team Vanshika to uh, come on the stage or maybe the virtual she is. So you can start your speech. The topic of your speech is philosophy changed my life. Philosophy changed my life. TM Vanshika. Stage is yours.
Thank you. So, most of us sitting here, we've studied for at least 13 to 15 years of our lives. Raise your hands if you've actually studied for 13 years of our lives. So, most of us have. And you know what we study in schools and colleges, it goes to change our perception about the world and ourselves. So, when I was given the unique opportunity of choosing what I needed to study in college, I thought of two things. First, something which was easier to study, and something which was easier to get into. We were talking about DU at that time, and cutoffs was skyrocketing. So, with that thought in mind, I chose philosophy. And you know, most of my peers thought that my job as a philosopher would be restricted to sitting at one place and questioning my existence. And question is exactly what I did. For the first year of our college, we were read asinine philosophical theories, which were ranging from why women were the worst human beings to how there are parallel universes in which we are psychopaths. So, for the first year, all of us, 120 students, hated philosophy, and we never looked forward to going for the classes. But in the second year, in our third semester, something wonderful happened. We were assigned the subject applied ethics. And in our minds, we thought this is going to be something about, choosing what's right, what's wrong. And we all know what's right and what's wrong. So for us, it was a cakewalk. It was a piece of cake. So that's the perception that we had about applied ethics. And then something wonderful happened. Our professor came into the class and she shared her story about ethics. Now, to do that, she started out by asking us a very important moral philosophical dilemma. So, I am going to ask you that same question today, and I'd love to know your opinion. So, the story goes something like this. There's a family of four, two children, mother and father, and they have an adorable little dog that they love to play with. His name is Happy. So the children, they come back from school, they play with Happy. The parents, they come back from work, they play with Happy. So they were a very tight-knit family. Now, one day, unfortunately, Happy runs back to the road and gets hit by a car and dies on the spot. Now, the family is immediately saddened by the loss of Happy. So the mother goes back home and she's thinking, okay, how can I cheer up my family? And she thinks, I'm going to make a big feast. But she realizes that there's nothing to eat at home. They're out of groceries. So the family decides on the spot that we're going to have Happy because he's dead already. So we're going to consume Happy's meat. So that night, the family had a hearty meal that was Happy. Now, the moral dilemma that we were asked was, what happened to Happy? Was it right or was it wrong? If you feel like it was wrong, just raise your hand because I was one of those people who felt that way. Now, in our class, we had two groups. There was one group that said that it was absolutely wrong. This was completely immoral. And there was another group that said, it's fine. He was dead already. What's the point of, preserving his meat or like burying him? In that way, you're saving the life of one chicken or whatever meat that you would have bought from grocery store by having Happy, by replacing it by Happy. So our class was divided into two groups, and all of us were bickering like crazy. There was one group which was very adamant on their point, and there was another group which was adamant on theirs. To us, it felt like this is absolutely crazy. How can you eat your own pet? And that's what the other group thought, that it's fine if you think about it from the worldly perspective. There's nothing wrong with eating your what do you say, eating your pet because you're saving the life of perhaps another animal or another livestock. So our class was completely divided in two parts. There were 120 students. There was one part which said that no, this was wrong, and another part which said which was right. There was absolutely nobody who stood in the middle and said that okay, both the points are valid, that we cannot come to a right or a wrong perspective, and sometimes philosophy or ethics is not as black and white as we perceive it to be. And that's exactly what our teacher wanted to teach us that day, the balance of thought. And that is what we learned throughout our applied ethics class. We were often given moral dilemmas for which we never had a right or a wrong answer. And that balance of thought is exactly what the world needs today. So, day before yesterday, I was reading this article by IMF which said that one of the biggest threats that we can face in the next decade could be the polarization of thought. Polarization of thought means that we have such extreme perceptions about the world and such extreme opinions which are going polar opposite that it can create a lot of riots, it can create a lot of wars, it can create a lot of individualism instead of community like feeling. And that is exactly what is happening in today's time. I was reading about the Russia and Ukraine war and it was completely baffling to me to see that the same polarization of thought had occurred there. And in that philosophy class, in that ethics class, we were taught something so essential, balance of thought, that I started to reflect back upon it. How many times did I ever sit to think when I was asked for an opinion that, okay, this could be wrong, this could be right, but there could be a middle ground. There could be sorry, there could be a middle ground to that perception, to that opinion. I'm sorry. Yes, I never went back to thinking how there could be a middle ground in my thoughts and my perception. Can you give me just 1 second? I apologize. The world we're living in, we've forgotten the importance of balance. In social media, anybody could come up with a very completely asinine opinion and share that on social media, and there could be any one person who could validate with them. And that is why in today's time it's much harder to rectify if sometimes our thoughts are going in polarized opinions. And with that, I'd like to end my speech. Thank you.